This is another great rule. Don't talk to your partner about something complicated when they're hungry. It's not going to work. And hey, fair enough, because people are full of snakes. And that's a bitch of a vow, man. You're a tyrant, and you probably are a tyrant to some degree. Time for you to go away for like a week. You're a bully if you use power disproportionately. Part of the reason that people can't listen is because they also don't know how to defend themselves. This is another good rule for couple conflict.
Why don't men like to listen?
Well, often because the insufficiencies are pointed at them. And sometimes, especially if the woman, let's say, and this can go both ways, let's be sure about this, but we might as well revert to the stereotypes. And I think it's fair because women are more threat sensitive. So they're more likely to bring up problems. Now that's the disadvantage is they bring up problems that don't exist because that's a false positive. But the advantage is they bring up problems before you're sensitive enough to see them. And so this is very important if you think about the role of women is the woman is closer to the infant than you. Okay, so you're, doing whatever the hell you're doing. You're concentrating on your career. You're not, especially when the infant's under a year old, you're a step removed now, and good, you can be dealing with the external world, but she's concentrating on the little kids. And one of the things you want to hear from her is what the hell's wrong with the kids before you're wise enough to see it. Now, the price you pay for that is she might be shorting out about things that don't exist. So, and this is especially true if your wife is high in neuroticism, and it could be true if the husband is too, but as I said, that's the more stereotypical situation. So why listen? To get to the signal. Now, will she get to the signal? Yes, although she might not be very good at that, and it might take a lot of listening. But if you listen long enough, she'll get better and better at it, until she'll get really good at it. And then the time between the emergence of the problem and the solution it'll collapse to the point where it's virtually immediate. Now that's a very high level of mastery. That can take a very long time. But then, you also want to put forward to your wife and yourself the proposition that you're better than you are, which is, I get the problem, I can solve it. It's like, no, you probably don't get the problem. And even if you did, it isn't necessarily the case that you could solve it. And so you have to put up with the fact that you're going to have to be dragged through the mud because she's going to point to, maybe her kid's upset because you're a tyrant. And you probably are a tyrant to some degree, clomping around, overconfident and all that. And so she's going to poke you. Well, maybe this is how you're stupid, and maybe this is how you're stupid, and maybe this is how you're long list of potential ways and actual ways you could be stupid. So you have to listen to that. Now, your wife has to act in good faith. One of the things that Tammy and I did when we first got married, because I thought a lot of this through before we got married. I said, look, if we're going to do this, you have to tell me the truth. I don't care what it is. I'll tell you the truth, but you have to tell me the truth. I don't care what the truth is, but it has to be true, right? And so without that, you get nowhere. And you can't trust your partner either. And so your partner has to be all in. That's why you have a marriage vow. Because the marriage vow is basically this. This is the vow. No matter what you tell me, I won't run away. And that's a bitch of a vow, man. Because when someone unveils their whole heart, they unveil themselves all the way down to hell. It's not pleasant. It's awful. And so they need to know that you will not run away. And that's a vow, because what do you know? Look, the person's always going to be thinking, always, if you really knew who I was, you wouldn't love me, you wouldn't be with me. And hey, fair enough, because people are full of snakes. And if all those snakes were revealed, perhaps the logical thing to do would be to run. And so then you might say, well, why not run? It's like, well, you want to run from everyone for the rest of your life? You want to forego the advantages of a permanent relationship? And you're full of snakes too. So you're both making a bad bet. And so you make the bad bet based on the idea that if you are faithful and you are truthful, that you can resolve the issues, and you can. It's a good deal.
Resolving issues. Much of what you've talked about stems back to childhood trauma and things that happen in our formative years. I often wonder, those holes in the bedroom floor you describe, the early traumas,
They're often in the bedroom floor, by the way.
Yeah.
You bet.
Can we ever fill those, or can we just put planks of wood over them?
Oh, no. You can't put planks of wood over them. You have to fill them. And what you do, and you can do this. Let's say you were bullied repeatedly when you were a kid. Okay, you're probably still being bullied. Because if you didn't, being a bully victim is a stable trait. So the great analysis of bullies that have been done, Dan Olweus in Sweden did this. He was a great psychologist. He analyzed bullying behavior and bully victim behavior. So he defined bullying very carefully. You're a bully if you use power disproportionately. So like if I'm 12 and I'm picking on someone my own size, I'm not a bully, right? Because the risk to me is commensurate to the risk to them. That's just aggression. That's just competition. And even if it's violent, it's not bullying. A bully is when I'm 12 and you're 8, or when there's 2 of us and 1 of you, or when I get you in a position where you're completely vulnerable and can't defend yourself. Disproportionate use of force, right? Bully victim is someone, the bullies will check out, imagine a bully comes into a room full of kids, he'll poke at all the kids, and one of the kids will manifest a disproportionate emotional response. Well, then it's like he just zeroes in on that. And those are often kids who are higher in neuroticism or who are fragile for other reasons. And then that can become permanent. And both the bullies and the bully victims have a negative long-term developmental trajectory. The bullies tend to become criminal and alienated on that front, especially as they move into high school, and the bully victims tend to become depressed, anxious, and dependent. If you have a partner who's been a bully victim, for example, that's going to be brought into your marriage. And then one of the things that's going to happen is every time you try to have a dispute, which is to actually think and solve a problem, they're going to see you through the bully template. They're going to treat you like you're a bully. They're going to accuse you of being a bully. They're going to bring up all the times before when you acted like a bully, and then you're going to have to defend yourself. And part of the reason that people can't listen is because they also don't know how to defend themselves. It's like, especially if here's 15 pieces of evidence that you're a bully. It's like, can you counter those? Maybe. What if you're not very articulate? It might take you 2 weeks to think up how to argue yourself out of that. Plus, you're going to be doubtful about it. So those are very complicated things to work through. But you can listen. If you listen, the person will dispense with some of their accusations by themselves. The accusations that can't be dispensed with, though, now those are questions. Maybe your kid's upset when he or she's interacting with you, and your wife says, well, you're too hard on him. It's like, well, are you? Well, it's time for you to go away for like a week and meditate on that, right? And that's soul searching, right? You're going to go down to the bottom of your heart. It's like, well, are you a bully? Are you a bully like your father was a bully? Are you a bully like a friend who was a reprobate that you admired and tried to copy was a bully? You have to see, because maybe you are. Maybe you should stop. But then you also have to figure out how you would be if you weren't being a bully. Then your wife can help you, and this is another good rule for couple conflict. Like, let's say I'm unhappy with you. So I come and tell you that. You can ask me, okay, what do you want? If I could give you what you wanted, what would it be? Well, I don't know. It's like, no, sorry. I cannot hit a target you won't specify. Let's discuss it at least. We got to have a target here. And so this is also if you're an employee. You got to know this if you're an employee. You're going to your boss with a problem. Why don't you go with a solution too? And if you're the sort of employee who goes to your boss with a solution, you'll racket yourself up the hierarchy. If you're in a halfway decent business, you'll ratchet yourself up the hierarchy so fast you can't believe it, because you'll get a reputation as the person who can solve the problem. So, and you can actually play with this in your marriage, because one of the things that you can do, for example, is, well, let's say you say something that irritated your wife. Okay. And then you can say, okay, she'll say, well, that really bothered me. It's like, okay, it's an open question. Why? Maybe she's too goddamn sensitive, and maybe you're too much of a son of a bitch. It's like, who knows, right? But you can ask her, okay, if I had said what you wanted me to say in that situation, what would have I said? Now that's a hard question. She has to think about that. It's like, well, what would have worked? And then she'll say, well, maybe you could have said this. And then you can say, okay, let me say it. Now then she has, but it's sort of like, let me say it. It'll be sort of fake. It'll be a first pass approximation. You're putting words in my mouth, but let's assume that I'm trying to do something better stupidly and badly to begin with, with an eye to mastering it over 50 repetitions. So, but I'll start by just saying it. So she'll tell you what to say and you can say it. Now, if you're absolutely 100% unwilling to say it because you think it violates your conscience, that's a whole different issue. That means there's a deeper discussion to be had. But maybe you could try it. You could try it out for size. And maybe she could see if that sort of satisfied her. And now you've got a rubric for how that interaction might go in the future. Let's make it concrete. You come home at the end of a workday. Okay. There's a right way of doing that you have to negotiate with your wife. Maybe she rushes to the door and meets you with all the problems of the day. Okay, that's probably not a great strategy. Because you're already up to here, you're tired. So is she likely from whatever she was doing. Maybe she was at work too. You can't meet each other when you're both tired every single day for the rest of your life with nothing but a ball of problems. Partly because if you do that 50 times, you're going to view the person as just a bunch of snakes that are coming at you. That's not good. Even if the problems that are being pointed to are real. You might think, okay, so you come home after work. What would be the best way for that to unfold? And you have to negotiate that. And I would say, let's parameterize that a bit. You're probably hungry. Well, you don't want to talk to someone. This is another great rule. Don't talk to your partner about something complicated when they're hungry. It's not going to work. So maybe you come home, you have something to eat, you kick off your shoes, maybe you take 10 minutes for yourself, and then you can talk. But you want to get that right. Or maybe you come home, you meet each other at the door, she gives you a hug, you have something to eat, you relax for a minute, maybe you have a shower, but then you've already negotiated about when you're going to have a conversation, and you're going to be prepared for it. Now, people do this in the business. You don't just randomly discuss a bunch of problems at your business if it's running reasonably well. You have a meeting, it's parameterized. You kind of have an agenda. You have to do that at home. You have your home is also a small business, and it has to be run like that. And you have to spend 90 minutes, at least 90 minutes a week with your wife, just running the damn business. And I can tell you, if you don't do that, you'll never get to the play, ever. Because maybe you'll be romantically interested in each other and you want to spend some time together, but there's a bunch of problems brewing, and your wife will definitely this will absolutely happen, is that when you're trying to be interested in each other, these things will come into her mind and distract her, and she'll bring them up. And then you'll get pissed off because it's like, well, we're supposed to be having fun at the moment. We're supposed to be attending to each other. Why are you bringing that up? And the answer is, well, we're together and these are problems. We haven't set aside time to deal with them. The reason you should listen to your wife is because if you listen to her enough, she'll tell you what's wrong and what she wants. And then you can fix what's wrong and you can give her what she wants.